Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into robes dusted with secrets, where chessboards whisper older truths than kingdoms. Imagine smoke-hazed courtyards, paper lanterns dangling like trapped fireflies. Before we start reality check, you probably won't survive this first lesson. Your thumbs keep twitching toward the camera roll instead of battle formations. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Sound off in the comments. Where's your couch fortress right now? Let me guess. Popcorn crumbs colonizing the cushions, local times doing its best to distract you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your sandals crunch through palace gravel that hasn't been disturbed since Confucius argued ethics over black rice wine. Ash from long-dead censers clings to your sleeves, burnt offerings to forgotten strategies. Every breath tastes like ink-stained fingers, and the fever-dream musk of scholars who bet their scrolls for a chance to play. The first stone they placed wasn't even jade, just river-smoothed granite, priceless because it came from the spot where two warring generals drowned mid-duel. Paper lanterns sway, their glow revealing a board carved into the floor. You kneel, knees protesting like unoiled hinges. The pieces feel warm, rough edges, whispering of 3 dynasties worth of paranoia. Legend says masters tested new moves on squirrels first. But let's be real, those rodents probably chewed through more knight strategies than actual opponents. Here's your first lesson. Never stare directly at the white tiles. Squint instead. Let your peripheral vision catch the phantom scribbles. Crown princes used to hide battle plans here, right under their tutors' wine-stained noses. Your fingertips brush a groove in the stone, the exact spot where a concubine once etched her lover's name with a hairpin. Historians still argue whether those ash clouds helped scholars cheat during foggy matches, or just made them look profoundly cool. A breeze slithers through the colonnade, extinguishing 3 lanterns. Your opponent's sleeve rustles, silk muttering threats your ears can't decode. Their opening move. A pawn charged forward like an overeager foot soldier. You counter with a bishop's diagonal smirk. It's how they trapped warlords during the 5 dynasties mess. Check your blind spot. There's always a rook-shaped shadow waiting to topple your ego. Someone coughs half a courtyard away, yet you feel the vibration in your molars. Focus. The board isn't just black and white. It's every gray area where empires collapsed. That cracked tile near the center, that's where a teenage heir melted his jade crown to glue down a runaway queen. True story. The National Museum of Korea still displays the blob. You reach for a peace freeze. The air thickens, beeswax candles sweating. Across the board, your opponent's breath hitches. This pause isn't strategy, it's tradition. Old manuals describe it as the moment debt collects. They weren't talking about silver. 300 years ago, right in this spot, a monk lost his temple over a single misplayed night. Wind sneaks under your robe, carrying half a laugh from the gardens. Servants placing bets. Ghosts placing bets. Doesn't matter. Your next move uses the night Tiger Gambit, a dusty tactic involving sacrificed pawns and a very judgmental moon. The pieces click, a sound like cracked knuckles. Dawn leaks through the shutters. Your opponent's last piece trembles, a king cornered by its own reflection. Victory should taste like honeyed persimmons. Instead, your tongue sticks to the roof of your mouth. Those lanterns weren't just for light. They timed the game. As you rise, gravel imprints your palms like battle scars. The board lies dormant, innocent as a sleeping snake. Somewhere beyond these walls, a squirrel stuffs its cheeks with parchment scraps. Let it. Tomorrow's game always starts where yesterday's arrogance ended. Your sandal sinks into moss, each step torn between cushion and quicksand. Bamboo creaks overhead, a symphony of green vaulting, where sunlight fractures into coin-sized spots. King Sejong's astronomers once mapped monsoons here before scholars repurposed the grove as nature's gaming hall. You trace a pawn's edge, dew smearing your thumbprint across its lotus-carved crown. Historians still argue whether the bamboo's sway counted as divine intervention or just really bad luck for nearsighted players. Mist ribbons curl around bishops, transforming them into spectral advisors. You squint. Is that rosette pattern on the rook natural, or carved by some 15th century prankster? A breeze rifles through your sleeve, carrying the vinegar tang of fermented bamboo shoots. Local legend claims masters buried jars of makgeolli here. Though you'd bet 5 crumbling scrolls, it's just mold. Your kneecap meets a stalagmite of lichen, because of course, the forest demands blood tribute. You shuffle sideways, avoiding a beam of light that glare off the board. 1100 years ago, some genius realized bamboo stalks mute clattering stones, keeping opponents from counting moves by sound. Now your own breath seems amplified, as if the grove hoards echoes of every whispered jangy strategy. A leaf drifts onto your queen's square, you leave it. Decorum, or fear of angering whatever critter dropped it. The air thickens, resin sweet, as shadows stretch into spear points. Your pinky brushes a dewdrop pendant dangling from a stalk. Cold, slick. A 1974 dissertation swore players licked these for focus, though you're not risking dysentery today. Checkmate patterns blur the board, now a grid of trembling light and judgment. 3 moves ago, this felt meditative. Now your skull's the percussion section for a bamboo xylophone. You lean back, splinters biting your shoulder blades. Above, canopy gaps form a star chart. Even Admiral Yi might have cursed. Something thrums underground roots, or the buried bones of palanquins that carried royals here. Another draft flips your knight, proving wind the pettiest chessmate alive. You sacrifice a chariot piece, pretend it's strategy, not surrender to the grove's fickle whims. Dampness seeps through your hemp mat, The chill of 1,000 tea ceremonies long evaporated. Your opponent's silence isn't Zen mastery. They're definitely napping. Fine. Let cicadas debate your next move, their buzz sawing through centuries of precedent. When you finally advance your elephant piece, the bamboo applauds and creaks. Or maybe that's just arthritis. Fingertips graze a stalk scar where some scholar long ago peeled a strip to mark their height. You outgrow the notch by half a thumb, but decline to update it. Tradition deserves its mysteries. The board's jade tiles now sweat rivulets, your strategy dissolving into abstract watercolor. Checkmate arrives as a spider does silken and inevitable, just as the first firefly tests the dusk. The silk floods your vision, not softness, but the scrape of raw thread against eyelashes. 3 layers thick, because Joseon-Era tutors believed moonlight could cheat through single weave. You fumble for the rook, its elephant-shaped curves now slack-jawed mystery. The board exhales camphor. Or is that your panic souring the air? Blindfold chess began as punishment for palace scholars caught ogling royal concubines during matches. Your left bishop rolls sideways, clattering like a drunkard's cup. You freeze, half expecting a chiliol doused sponge down your throat. 18th century masters allegedly soaked their earlobes in snail mucus, heightened hearing for tracking opponents' trembling breaths. Hard pass, you'd rather lose spectacularly. Fingertips red grooves in each piece, knight's horsehead notch pawns, chipped lotus. The queen's crown pricks your thumb, a barbed reminder she outranks you here. Historians still argue whether blindfolds prevented distraction or hid teachers. Tells during treason-adjacent games, your kneecap discovers an unseen root, nature's snicker at human notions of control. Damp silk warms with each breath. You're basically tea-steeping your own eyeballs. That cinnamon note, not some mystical focus aid, just your breakfast rice cakes, fermenting in a corner satchel. Wind shoulders through bamboo, rattling pawns into guerrilla formations. You retaliate by shifting a chariot 2 spaces forward, 1 trauma-induced wobble sideways. Memorized grids unravel your mental map, now a child's finger painting of battle lines. A rook's heft implies carved granite, but you lifted the same piece yesterday. It felt featherlight, proof of cosmic betrayal, or that you skipped arm day again. The blindfold slips, tempting a peek until ancestral ghost hands cinch it tighter. Echoes amplify. A leaf's touchdown vibrates up your shins. You used to mock those scrolls describing earsight. Now, a bishop's scrape across lacquer screams direction, 3 tiles northeast. 17 generations ago, a lord's niece won a championship by tracking ant vibrations on the board. You question her methods, but envy her focus. Midnight humidity glues the blindfold to your nose bridge. Move, breathe. Ignore the centipede exploring your ankle's suspenseful drama. 3 moves prior, this felt noble. Now you're just a perspiration factory with delusions of grandeur. The queen's base sticks slightly, Did you place her on lichen, or is the board itself puckering? Your opponent's silence isn't meditative anymore. That's definitely snoring. Fine, outwit a sleeping elder and a forest conspiring against you. Classic Tuesday. The silk drinks a drip of sweat, salty betrayal seeping toward your lips. Tactical advantage or electrolyte loss. Philosophy crumbles when your bladder joins the rebellion. Palm flat on the board now, reading temperature shifts where pieces once warmed the wood. Someone's chariot radiates embarrassment. Yours. The bamboo chorus swells, staccato creaks, translating to resign already. You drop a pawn, its surrender thunk, echoing a 14th century general's famed last stand. Same energy, less flattering portrait. Dawn's first blush sears through the blindfold, turning everything bloody pink. Your king lists sideways, toppled by a breeze or shame. You'll claim the former. The silk's removal reteaches light's violence, and that your opponent's been gone for hours. Checkmate by abandonment, the oldest trick in the grove. Breeze licks the abandoned board, your toppled king wobbles like a drunk courtier. You right him 3 breaths too late. Wind retaliates, a pawn careens into your shin. Oh, it's personal now. 14th century, bamboo groves doubled as nature's clocks. Stalks creaking at specific wind speeds to mark dawn prayers. You calculate your next move and get a pine needle enema for intellectual efforts. The bishop's mitred head taunts from across the board until gale force pettiness slams it into a flanking knight. Legends claim typhoons taught early masters defensive formations, bamboo groves, whistling distraction patterns. You sacrifice a chariot, bait, for whatever tempest tantrum comes next. The bamboo shudders, not whined this time, but your own laugh echoing through hollow stalks. Ming Dynasty scrolls debate whether bamboo chess sets were meditation aids or scholars' folly. Your left rook goes AWOL, later discovered wedged in a squirrel's stash of acorns. The remaining pawns huddle wooden witness protection program candidates. Blindfold long discarded, now you battle squinting fury. A leaf plastered to your forehead mocks strategic planning. Historians still argue whether wind-assisted moves counted as divine intervention or lazy rule bending. You flip a coin, it's a maple seed. Nature's rigging the game. Your sleeve snags a stalk, spilling trapped rainwater over the board. Pawns float like reluctant warships. That cinnamon stench returns, turns out mold thrives in soggy satchels. You promote a bishop, using a pebble apologies to tournament purists. Sudden calm. Bamboo stills, the grove inhales. You mirror its silence until wind uppercuts the board from below. Pieces rocket skyward, a wooden Big Dipper, briefly constellations. The king lands crown first in mud, his third identity crisis today. Centuries back, a concubine reportedly beat 3 grandmasters using only monsoon drafts. You channel her spirit, tilting the board to favor your surviving knight. The grove answers with a pollen whirlwind. Allergic warfare meets psychological ops. 3 moves later you're down to a king and existential doubt. The bamboo's creaks form crude laughter, or maybe that's sleep deprivation. You bow to no one, except possibly that anthill reconquering your eastern flank. Dusk arrives, painting wind currents in violet streaks. Your final pawn precariously guards the board's edge. A gust hesitates, then spares it. Mercy, or tactical delay for maximum humiliation later. You pocket the piece, a hostage against fate's whims. The grove settles, its green lungs exhaling victory. Thunder rumbles distant approval. Your cloaks, now a canvas for pollen hieroglyphs, nature's post-game analysis. Checkmate smells suspiciously like wet bark and yesterday's poor decisions. Moonlight slicks the jade-tiled courtyard. Your knight's shadow stretches long as a regret. Cicadas rev up their endless zzzt, merging with distant temple bells. You squint. Is that a pawn or a very committed frog? The board glows faintly, moon-bleached squares whispering of Joseon dynasty. Hour of the bat, rituals. Scholars once burned mugwort here to sharpen night vision. You settle for blinking aggressively. A firefly lands on your rook, living decoration, mocking your strategic blunders. Your opponent's bamboo pieces hum, silicarage stalks vibrating like tuning forks. 15th century manuals swear this resonance exposes weaknesses. But tonight it just sounds like a fridge dying. Historians still argue whether the 1637 bamboo chess rebellion started over stolen pieces or a misinterpreted checkmate. You adjust your sleeve, catching the knight before its quivering topples it. 9 moves since twilight, each met with louder insect critique. The moon's a spotlight now, your every hesitation documented in silver. That jade tile everyone admires, carved from a quarry Genghis Khan's troops mistook for pasture land. Your bishop glints, coal-dusted during Jeonjo's reign to prevent sun glare. You miss glare. Your thumb brushes the knight's horsehead carving, smooth from 7 generations of panic grips. Cicadas hit a fever pitch, their rhythm syncing with your pulse. 300 years back, a drunk noble allegedly translated their song into winning moves. You strain to hear, pawn to e5, get marry a mongoose instead. The opponent's queen approaches, her bamboo grooves blackened by centuries of lamp smoke. A bead of dew slides down your blindfold's edge, cold baptism for your left eyeball. Back in Gwanghee-gun's rule, players dunked pieces in lotus ponds to refresh their spirit. You settle for flicking the dew at the queen temporary humidity advantage. 17 fireflies now crowd your side, living bioluminescent cheer squad. One zones out, drifting into the night's path. You shield it, smearing glow gunk across 3 tiles. The board becomes a star chart, your doomed pieces forming Orion's sadder cousin. Cool fact, bamboo's silica content makes it hum in specific humidity. Your knee disagrees, cracking louder than a daimyo's discipline rod. The opponent's rook creaks, stalk fibers expanding with night chill. Every game's secretly a weather vane. Your little-known trivia: Goryeo courtesans played with pieces dipped in Firefly venom. Under moonlight, the poison glowed green, early cheat code for night matches. You sniff a pawn, regret immediately. Turns out mildew glows too, if you're desperate enough. Checkmate looms, your king cornered by moonlight and poor life choices. Cicadas crescendo, their collective buzz mimicking a death gong. Somewhere, a frog belches approval. You rotate the board, testing that old myth about lunar angles altering strategy. The knight trembles, carved eyes wide, as it faces the queen's final advance. Wind riffles through bamboo, 7 stalks clicking out a proverb in Morse code. You pretend to understand, nodding sagely, while edging toward the sake jug. Moonlight bleeds across the last safe square. Your knight's shadow merges with the king's. The opponent's hand hovers, sleeve rustling like a smuggler's map. 3 centuries of tradition demand silent resignation here. You cough, dislodging a moth from your collar. It flutters onto the board, wings dusting the queen's crown. Cicadas pause, the grove holding its breath. Even fireflies freeze mid-flicker. Your fingertip meets the night, warm from hours of indecision. That jade tile everyone admires. It's colder than a tax auditor's smile. The piece lifts, so does your stomach. 7 notes ring out, a cicada's idea of a drum roll. You commit knuckle-white grip, betraying calm. Moonlight flares, as if the heavens cranked up a dimmer switch. The night lands, its shadow stabbing the queen's silhouette through the heart. Absolute silence. Then bamboo erupts in creaks. Fireflies spiral like drunken constellations. Even the moon dims, modest about your accidental brilliance. The opponent's pieces rattle, stalk fibers popping in disbelief. Turns out 300 years of strategy boils down to a moth's eyelash and not reading the manual. Your knight bows, hero or fool, as dawn's first blade slices the horizon. The jade tiles exhale, their night shift over. Checkmate smells like ozone and the sweet rot of overturned soil. Brine stings your split lip, pride's metallic aftertaste. That falling maple leaf, mirroring your queen's kamikaze swan dive too, moves back. You count heartbeats. Each thud sinks with waves, gnawing the cliff below. 17th century admirals, buried chess sets in coastal cemeteries. Pine resin sealing their final blunders. Your fingernails dig into the same wood grain your teacher's nails once grooved. Wind carries his ghost laugh, a wheeze sharpening the salt air. Defeat tastes better with kelp, he'd say, pointing at your childhood seaweed-stuck teeth. The board's seaweed-free now, just your toppled king, capsized in tide pool damp. Historians still argue whether these coastal matches began as naval drills or drunken dares. Your earlobe tingles, phantom flick from his attention lessons, involving dried squid. A hermit crab commandeers your fallen rook, crustacean upgrades improving its defensive position. You let it. Joseon-Era, losers allegedly gained thicker hair. Your scalp prickles with imagined follicles. The leaf finally sticks, one veined edge lifting like a sarcastic eyebrow. 3 gulls swoop, feathered hecklers, debating your worst move. Dawn glares through your left nostril, the blindfold, now a sweaty ear loop necklace, that indestructible bamboo board, warped into a cereal bowl shape by persistent humiliation. You trace its rim, remembering Goryeo sailors using warped planks as makeshift lifeboats. Your dignity floats worse. The Crab's Rock fortress collapses, your rook rolls into a tide pool. Miniature octopus inspects it, 8 arms judging your endgame. Salt crusts your knuckles, the same crunch royal carvers achieved with powdered pearls. You lick it, regret blooms. 27 pebbles litter the board, each placed post-defeat as apology tokens. Your teacher collected them in a leopard sharkskin pouch, now buried with him under Hankpajuri Fortress. 1 stone glints mica bright, throwback to his accidental meteorite collection phase. Your pinky hovers. Does disturbing it curse next week's breakfast? Tide sweeps in your ponds, become crab wrestling arenas. The leaf disintegrates, Queen's Requiem in cellulose. You mimic her spiral, sprawling back onto sun-warmed rock. 14th century manuals recommended this pose for absorbing strategic wisdom through kidney stones. Yours remains stubbornly unwise. Shadows stretch, your outline merges with the rock's ancient barnacles. That salty tang isn't just sea spray. Generations of weepy losers seasoned these stones. A wave slaps the cliff, foam spelling L+ in fleeting bubbles. You nod, generous rating. The octopus inks your rook, darkening its shame aura, according to nautical superstitions. Your toes meet a washed-up net, each knot retelling a fish's escape. The teacher's voice resurfaces. Losers not nets. Winners eat sashimi. You consider gnawing the net. Clouds mimic chess formations. Cumulus rooks, bullying straightest pawns. Your stomach growls the theme song from that terrible palace mukbang stream. The crab abandons its conquest, clacking disdain as it retreats seaward. 3 fishing boats glide past, their hulls painted with faded Kakjugi faces. 1 captain waves. You salute with a soggy bishop. Bad move. It sinks. Anecdotal evidence suggests sunken pieces attract grumpy mermaids, their critiques sharper than the sea breeze. Pebbles dig into your scapula, acupuncture for the ego. That buzzing isn't mosquitoes, it's your remaining dignity evaporating. You pluck a strand of seaweed, tying it around your wrist, like victory's soggy placeholder. The octopus vanishes, rook now a coral-encrusted relic. Your stomach debates eating the apology pebbles body over mind. Kibbe style. Unlikely. The sun's a fried egg now, yolk oozing across the rocks. Shadows shift, your outline finally stands. Bow. Not to the board, not to the ghost teacher. To the leaf bits clinging to your ankle, humble messengers of decay's quiet victories. Salt crystallizes your eyelashes, blinking, transforms into a kaleidoscope of poor choices. You pocket the mica pebble, a fossilized maybe next time. Waves erase the board's watermark, nature's control plus C. The crab returns dragging a mollusk twice its size. You feel judged. The horizon this is structured, as if responding to a username mentioned. Achmek, the unwise, a 12-year-old Goryeo prodigy who lost 47 straight matches. Your shadow stretches inland, longing for the bamboo forest's forgiving shade. Knee creeks harmonize with cicadas, a duet for the defeated. 18 seagulls now forming a Greek chorus on a nearby boulder. Preheat the shame oven. The net tangles your foot, kelp handcuffs, enforcing humility. You untangle it slowly, each snag whispering, Bishop's Gambit, Spring 43. A hermit crab waves from your abandoned shoe, new tenant, signing a ruthless lease. Sunlight hits the mica pebble, projecting a wavering lighthouse beam on the cliff. Your teacher's favorite taunt flickers in the glare. Even rocks learn eventually. The beam dies, clouds rolling in like rival chess clubs. First raindrop hits the bridge of your nose, prelude to a million antes clucking. Should have practiced more. You stand, joints imitating a rusty robot's audition tape. The board floats now, improved as a raft for pessimistic crustaceans. Saltaire pride dissolves with each exhale. You pocket 16 more pebbles. They clack with your heartbeat, the only strategy left. Lean into the wind's shove. Let it steer you toward tomorrow's inevitable blunders. The leaf's final fragment clings to your heel sticky as morning rice. Rain sluices down your neck, your last pawn slick as a newborn eel. 14th century, monsoon strategies whisper through rivulets. Kingdoms fell faster on wet battlefields. Thunder groans approval. You promote the pawn, using a pebble still warm from your palm. Blindfold clings like a drowned jellyfish. Not that you need eyes now. Storm-fed streams reshape the board, every crater a potential throne. Your thumb finds the pawn's chipped corner, same crack archaeologists found on Admiral Yi's childhood gaming piece. Lightning forks, nature's night leap, highlighting your soaked opponent. The storm itself. Puddles mirror the heavens. You're playing both black and celestial silver. Joseon rain summoning rituals required 3 virgin shamans and a consecrated chessboard. Judging by this downpour, someone cheated. Your king floats, corkwood buoyancy, performing its tactical skills. One rulebook claims storms reset karma. Another says they just rust armor. Historians still argue whether royal astrologers used chess matches to predict typhoon paths. Your earlobe tingles, teacher's voice cutting through the deluge. Wet kings ride dragonback or sink. Your pawn-turned monarch glints mica bright, upgraded courtesy of that cursed pebble. 10 soaked sparrows land, feathered jurors awaiting your next blunder. You castle sideways, defying physics, and 9 generations of strategy scrolls. Raindrops nail your eyelids, nature's way of saying, mic drop. A pinecone slaps the board, flood-born consultant, offering terrible advice. You sacrifice a bishop anyway. Lightning applauds, brief applause lighting 7 villages. That myth about games attracting storms. Maybe stop playing during monsoon season. Fog rolls in your pieces, now smoky ghosts of poor decisions. You inhale petrichor, an impending humiliation, an ancient combo pack. Storm drains carve canyons around your ankles, continental drift at warp speed. The blindfold sags, your third, eyes still 2050, legally 67 heartbeats. Since last thunderclap, silence feels like judgment pending. Your soggy sleeve snags on the reborn king, threads unspooling like a failing dynasty. 10th century poetry compared ruined castles to chessboards wept upon by the gods. Overachievers. Mud creeps over the board, liquid opponent claiming territory. You counter with a heron's feather, improvised queen no worse than your others. The storm hesitates. Its next move smells of ozone and stage fright. A frog perches on your rook, green gambit expert. You're tempted to knight it. Rain slackens, each drop now a calculated taunt. Your teeth chatter Morse code for mercy. No response. 3 lightning-singed bamboo stalks topple nearby, casualties of atmospheric drama. You reposition your king atop a tadpole-filled puddle, amphibious reinforcements pending. The blindfold phrase, left eyeball, gets a rain-soaked peek. Mistake. Your last intact pawn dissolves, clay returning to ancestral mud. Thunder rumbles a punchline. The storm's stand-up, career clearly failing. Historians still argue whether Goryeo generals used rainfall to muffle troop movements. You just want soggy socks. A raven swoops, stealing your meteorite pebble. Fair trade for earlier crustacean theft. The board tilts, king surfing a mudslide into obscurity. Check, you whisper to the retreating storm, forgetting queens can't swim. Sunrise gouges the clouds. Your shadow stretches 12 directions at once. The blindfold disintegrates, strands clinging like spider silk epiphanies. You pocket a mud-flecked pawn head, future evidence of this folly. Wind flips the board, nature's way of deleting autosaves. Your spine unknots, backbone remembering it's not a question mark. The storm's leftover drizzle traces your jawline, mockery or apology. You vote mockery. 7 snails ascend the nearest bamboo stalk, slow motion, standing ovation. Your kneecaps creak a protest anthem. That myth about post-storm games curring gout. Total horseapple, probably. Leaves drip irregular metronome beats. You conduct an invisible orchestra. The mud king melts, its crown a pebble sinking in reverse. Cicadas reboot, their song now a diss track on your strategy. Fingernails crusted with hieroglyphs of dirt, you've upgraded to a cautionary tale. The horizon flexes, dawn reheating yesterday's regrets. 1 sparrow left, judging you harder than your 3rd grade calligraphy tutor. Rain's dying breath frosts your eyelashes, makeup tutorial for tragic heroes. You bow to the wreckage, soggy and semi-born. Stormwater swirls commas around your feet, nature's rough draft of your epitaph. Thunder gifts a final echo applause from the ghosts of all your past defeats. Not a standing ovation, more of a sarcastic slow clap. You pirouette anyway, mud flinging off your hem like desperate confetti. Farmers slog past, their straw hats dripping judgment. You salvage the least damaged pawn. Its dent aligns with your thumbprint. The board becomes a raft for ants, tiny admirals reenacting your blunders. Sludge seeps into your sandals, a spa treatment for the existentially bankrupt. That folktale about rain-washed losers gaining invincibility. Your limp argues otherwise. You name the lingering mist, general damp, promoted to court jester. Sunbeam sucker punches the clouds. Your shadow high-fives a bamboo shoot. Victories, a greasy concept now, like trying to hug a fish. The storm's leftover breeze whispers through your tunic strategic advice from a waterlogged phantom. The blindfold itches worse than ever, your sweat gluing mulberry fibers to eyebrow scars. That's when the chill comes, not monsoon's leftover kiss, but the breath of something older. Your nape hairs levitate. 5th grade science fails to explain ghost draft aerodynamics. A wheeze creaks behind you like bamboo splinters scraping a warped zither. 9th century records mention Grandmaster H-Wan's death, rattle echoing through royal chess courts for decades. Your wrist hairs twist into tiny divining rods, pointing towards spectral disapproval. The ivory rook slips sideways, unaided by your still trembling fingers. Textbook poltergeist activity, or just monsoon warp on untreated oxbone. Historians still argue whether Silla dynasty pieces were meant for play or summoning etiquette-obsessed wraiths. Your breath fogs despite the humidity, little clouds shaping, dodging opening formations. Legends claim Queen Seondeok once checkmated a traitor using only 9 stones and a moonless night. You're struggling with 32 pieces and full sunlight, plus 1 meddling phantom. The chill migrates to your earlobe grandmaster gossip, delivered in freezer-burn Morse code. Your bishop topples spontaneously. A nearby caterpillar freezes mid-crawl tiny legs, debating whether to play dead. That myth about cursed boards needing human laughter to reset. You force a chuckle. Mistake. The air thickens, now smelling of tomb moss and passive aggression. 10th century ivory degrades faster when haunted. A restorer's blog warned you last winter. Your pinky brushes the shifted rook. Frostbite snaps up your nerve endings. 16th century Gyeonggi-do steel carvings depict scholars playing blindfolded, while ancestors whisper mistakes through their sleeve gaps. You roll your shoulders, ancestors clearly on performance-enhancing resentment. The caterpillar bolts, abandoning its role as moral support. Your surviving pawns huddle, clay soldiers realizing their general's a fraud. A breeze flicks your temple, ghostly finger smack for poor endgame tactics. Exhibit A. Your knights stranded in the board's emotional no man's land. A kingfisher dives at the ivory queen beak, snapping empty air. Primordial reflexes make you shield the piece, though it's caused nothing but trouble. Your palm stings Centuries-old tooth marks materialize on the ivory. Nugent chess sets allegedly bit dishonest players. Your dentist wouldn't approve. 5 fireflies orbit the board, living asterisks, highlighting your worst moves. You initiate the forbidden fork, sacrificing 2 pawns to trap their spectral advisor. The temperature plummets, your nose drips onto the cursed rook. Destiny or gross negligence. Byzantine chess manuals prescribed lavender smoke to banish meddlesome spirits. You're fresh out, but your armpit musk could qualify as biological warfare. The chill retreats 3 finger widths, progress by any metric. A frog croaks the 7-tone scale of surrender. You're too proud to join. The ivory queen vibrates, humming a Goryeo lullaby band after the 1173 coup. Your molars ache in unison, dental work as unintended percussion section. 1 firefly lands on your king, wing flashes spelling repent in obsolete Hanya. You flick it gently. The ghost sighs, a sound like rotten silk tearing. 16th century ambassadors noted Hwan's breath, stank of unripe persimmons, and regret. Time hasn't improved it. Your surviving bishop executes a diagonal prayer for divine intervention. No response, just a fat raven laughing from 40 paces north. The rook levitates, dangling your humiliation like a piñata. Strategies blur. You deploy the desperation gambit, slapping the board twice for punctuation. Historians still argue whether the 1298 ban on spectral interference in chess was metaphorical. The rook slams down, crushing 3 pawns under ghostly peak. Moonlight bleeds through clouds, ivory pieces glowing like guilty teeth. That myth about grandmasters binding their souls to favorite boards. You make a mental note to switch to plastic. Your sleeve snags the queen, dragging her into checkmate position. The chill evaporates, leaving your blindfold rigid with frozen sweat. A single firefly loops your head, persistent editorial mark on this disaster piece. Dew collects in the rook's grooves, tears, or atmospheric condensation. The kingfisher returns, drops a minnow on your foot, either tribute or avian sarcasm. You pocket the soggy pawns, future evidence for your ghost hunting permit application. Dawn licks the horizon, your shadow grows a beard of defeated grass blades. The board lies quiet, just warped wood and questionable life choices. That folktale about melancholy spirits inhabiting abandoned game pieces. You walk away faster than etiquette allows. You kneel where autumn's casualties sank into loam, fingernails gritty with last season's shattered pawns. Spring tender shoots pierce the board's burial plots. Baby bamboo mocking your ancient grudges. 7th century Shilla royals held wet leaf tournaments here. Their courtiers' tears allegedly fertilized the grove for centuries. A ladybug commandeers your remaining knight, tiny general claiming conquered territory with regal disdain. Mud slurps at your sandals, the forest digesting last week's hubris. You plant a river-smoothed stone where your queen fell, though arborists insist bamboo ignores human timelines, that geomantic scroll from Buson's underground archives. It mentioned turtle carapaces buried beneath champion stones. Your hiking boots make poor substitutes, rainwater pools in the rook's abandoned socket. A miniature ecosystem brewing tadpole rebellions. Historians still argue whether the 1348 stone seating edict, ceremonial chess markers, or covert boundary disputes. Your stone tilts northward, pulled by roots already scheming underground treaties. 3 spiders convert the bishop's alcove into condos, rent-free. You recall Goryeo-Era texts praising bamboo sap as a memory tonic, though modern blogs warn of hallucinogenic side effects. Moon snails glue their eggs to the toppled king, pearly squatters rewriting your endgame. A centipede inspects your offering stone, antennae tapping verdicts in imperial Morse. The 1923 Journal of Unorthodox Horticulture documented bamboo shoots growing chess piece shapes when fed tournament transcripts. Your stone remains stubbornly round and judgmental. Sunlight filters through new canopies, checkerboard shadows, playing by different rules. You press an earlobe to the soil. Some swear vanquished armies, whisper growth, strategies through earthworm tunnels. All you hear is lunchtime gurgles from a beetle. Ants haul away your last marble pawn, communal snack for 12 generations. That myth about carved stones blooming into ivory after 70 monsoons. Your lower back vetoes the weight. Cicada shells cling to the board's edges, ghost players suiting up for rematches. Wind rearranges the spider silk, looming like a phantom's forgotten opening moves. You spit on the stone traditional, if unhygienic. The centipede freezes mid-critique, legs computing your lack of decorum. Even compost deserves better manners. Twilight stretches the bamboo shadows into elongated rooks. You dig up a fingernail's worth of dirt time capsule for future botanical sabotage. The ladybug abandons its nightly throne, likely off to brief aphid forces on your weaknesses. Your stone gathers moss faster than expected green fuzz, erasing its numeric war wounds. 9th century monks wrote of games lasting until roots kissed the heavens, conveniently omitting spinal adjustments required. The board sinks deeper, an archaeological puzzle for tomorrow's arrogant historians. Mushrooms erupt around the stone phallic white flags of microbial surrender. You mark the date in bark sap. Next year's sap will laugh at your optimism. Night herons croak derisively from the canopy, feathered pundits scoring your reforestation efforts. Dew impregnates the board with reflected stars, your stone now a cosmos in miniature. The spiders throw a gala in the Queen's quadrant, silk banners mocking your earthly concerns. You leave the forest wearing mud armor, and a rookie's hope that decades will soften this gamble into wisdom. Thirst scrapes your throat raw each swallow, a betrayal louder than midday cicadas. You kneel on bamboo slivers, knees long past complaining After 9 rainfalls of false victories, Joseon scholars endured 80-hour matches, fueled by pine needle tea. Your Starbucks latte habit offers zero solidarity. A bead of sweat orbits your nose, personal satellite mocking NASA's budget. The blindfold drinks your damp brow, silk fermenting into a vinegar-soaked straitjacket. Annals mention 18th century players chewing lead pieces to stifle hunger. Though modern dentists would riot, your molars grind phantom cinnabar tablets, dubious focus enhancers from darker chapters of the royal court. Every vertebrae pops protest hymns, your spine auditioning as a percussion ensemble. Muscle cramps rewrite your posture, contorting you into living kanji for hubris. That rural legend about buried ginseng roots absorbing a player's pain. Your left iliotibial band votes to exhume the entire forest. Historians still argue whether chronic arthritis among retired masters was occupational hazard, or the bamboo exacting revenge for disturbed soil. Sunlight drills through your eyelids, blinding white despite the blindfold's blackout mandate. You recall Goryeo scrolls prescribing weasel bile for leg numbness, and briefly consider modern medicine's many disappointments. Spit congeals into a lozenge, makeshift, moisture your tongue now hoards like dragon treasure. Fingertips brush a pawn's cold shoulder, its marble grooves swollen with your sweat salt. 16th century matches, sometimes paused for bone-mending clouds. Incense blends blamed for 3 palace fires, your lungs veto tradition. Smoke inhalation being poor sportsmanship. A king's weight strains your wrist, ivory grown heavier with each passing monsoon. Ants detour around your trembling hand, instinct recognizing a bridge on the verge of collapse. The 1893 Seoul chess scandal saw champions smuggling naphtha drops under tongue, illegal stamina boosters that melted 3 silver trophies. Your tongue lies dormant and suspiciously flammable. Breath hitches your diaphragm's latest rebellion against calm warrior aesthetics. That myth about swallowing 7 tears granting an hour's respite. Your ducts stage a dry run, dehydration being the ultimate critic. Wind rifles through bamboo stalks, sneaky drafts prying at your concentration's loose edges. You mimic 1920s champion Ysun's stone inhalation technique, mainly tasting yesterday's bean paste dinner. A toe cramps your body's pitiful attempt at Morse code signaling surrender. Shadows stretch longer than your remaining stamina, dusk negotiations between flesh and willpower. Records claim Master Hong's 1701 victory occurred mid-hernia, though the truss hidden beneath his hanbok stays speculative. Your own organs buzz with rebellious intent, spleen composing its resignation letter. The board blurs into merciful abstraction, your opponent's strategy, now felt through seismic pelvis vibrations. A 14th century manual recommended camel urine baths for stiffness, which explains certain gaps in apprenticeship records. You mentally draft Yelp reviews for long-dead physicians. Liquid gold, that's what your bladder calls the water pouch. 3 feet left. Dutch traders brought caffeinated persimmon extracts in 1632 cruelty, hidden in benevolent wrappers. Your resolve mirrors Gyeongbokgung Palace's foundation, cracked but stupidly persistent. Moonrise brings false dawn to your sweating temples. A millennium of martyrs to this game. Yet none thought to invent sweatband couture. Your nostrils flare at destiny's oversight. Surely some Joseon queen had oily T-zone solutions. First star winks, celestial spectator bored by your arthritic fumbling. That apocryphal tale about Admiral Yi's ghost playing simultaneous matches. Right now, he'd forfeit to use your latrine. Limbs now foreign territories, each tremble a separatist movement. The 1910 Bamboo Cramp Rebellion saw 40 players collapse mid-match, their grandchildren still boycotting forestry guilds. Your calf stages a coup, democratic processes be damned. Teeth etch tomorrow's apology into your lower lip copper, tang more motivational than any coach's screed. Royal physicians once prescribed nightingale guano for lockjaw, which ranks below, powering through on your options list. Dawn licks the horizon, your body's ultimatum delivered in popped capillaries and shaky exhalations. You make the final move by collapsing forward in accidental checkmate, your forehead's impression left as seal and surrender. Laughter slices through your haze, high-pitched, unburdened as gravel crunches toward the board. You peel your cheek from a rook-shaped indent, tasting defeat and loam in equal measure. A child's shadow bobs where your opponent should gloat, their hands cupping stolen sunshine. Your queen's crooked, they chirp. You fumble for dignity until realizing the monarch in questions a pinecone. Its scales mock your 3-hour endgame struggle. Nature's checkmate, served with cheeky grin. Historians footnote the Imjin war tactic of replacing lost pieces with acorns, desperation, masked as whimsy. Your mortification burns brighter than 16th century signal fires. The kid slides a pebble knight forward, its battle cry a hiccup. You suddenly miss your bladder's earlier suffering, simpler torments. Wind riffles their hanbok sleeves, fabric flapping like surrender flags. Master Payan played squirrels, they whisper. Your spine cracks upright, recognizing the 1670 rebel who taught rodents to topple kings. Experts dismiss it as folktales, yet your pawns seem nervous. They pluck your fallen crown, tarnished tin from a temple donation box, and balance it on a rock. Squirrel generals need fancy hats. Cicadas hush, bamboo leaning in. You recall medieval snow rituals where losers buried walnuts, supposedly growing wiser trees. No one mentions the squirrel alliances forged beneath frost. Your fingers hover knights, retreat blocked by a dandelion puff. Who taught you camphor defenses? You rasp. Their nose scrunches. Grandma's soup recipes. The board reeks of garlic chives, now strategy and stew colliding. Sunlight shifts, your blindfold sags, revealing the truth. Every stone is borrowed. Pine needles mark attack lines. Beetle shells stand as bishops. Historians still argue whether children's games were training tools or secret rebellions against rigid masters. The kid pockets your crown, replacing it with a maple key. This flies better. Their giggle infects the bamboo, stalks chuckling in green murmurs. You study this new board, where victory smells of humus and crushed mint. That controversial 1932 text claims toddlers once bested grandmasters by moving clouds. But lunch breaks prove more motivating. Winners kept journals in fermented soybean paste, allegedly. Your stomach growls accordion dirges. They misinterpret it as game commentary. See, even your belly wants bamboo shoots. A leaf drifts onto the board. Your final castle surrenders to photosynthesis. Their grandmother arrives, apron smeared with ink and sesame oil. She nods at your pinecone queen. We used persimmon seeds during monsoon floods, made the best of soggy battles. Modern reenactments ignore the mold aspect and the subsequent frog invasions. You gift them a jade button, pawn-shaped salary from your last failed apprenticeship. They bite it, frown, trade it for a snail shell. This one sings when losing. Twilight bleeds across the forest, checkmate measured in firefly blinks. As you leave, their voice chases you through rustling stalks. Tell the moon we need more nightlight. Cicadas resume mid-sentence, their symphony punctuated by faint squeaks. Somewhere, a squirrel plans world domination, one pilfered crown at a time. Your wrist flicks, charcoal scraping bamboo paper. As embers sketch battle lines only fire recognizes. Night-chilled ink crawls up your forearm. Siege towers rising where veins branch. That stupid jade button weighs less here, its pawn shape dissolving into smoke tactics. Seoul's National Museum keeps a scroll where King Sejong doodled chess openings during Hanjul's invention. Strategic procrastination at its finest. Your brush hovers, mixing ash and pine, resin into something resembling competence. Burning roots again. A voice slices through smoke, probably the same monk who mocked your pumpkin starch glue last winter. His shadow steals 3 pawns worth of firelight. Real scholars use fermented mulberry bark. You pretend not to hear, nudging a rook-shaped cinder toward enemy lines. One rebel manual from the 1800s suggested writing strategies on rice paper and eating them emergency rations with psychological warfare. Your stomach gurgles approval. Historians still argue whether inked strokes shaped real battle formations or just gave generals indigestion. The monk snorts, a sound older than Celadon pottery. Stop drawing your queen pregnant. You blink, realizing the figure's rounded abdomen. She's well fed on enemy blunders. He flicks a persimmon seed at your makeshift board. Your cavalry charges into a puddle. Fabric rustles, your sleeve drags through 3 hours of planning. Smoke letters stain the cloth. A surrender treaty written in laundry regrets. Fingers cramp the way they did memorizing palace escape routes during that monsoon flood drill. Midnight bleeds into the inkstone. Your brush hesitates. Does a bishop diagonal left or right here? That controversial 1938 exhibit claimed blindfolded masters navigated via toothache pulses. But your molars just complaining about maple taffy. A spark lands on paper, devouring your cavalry in orange hiccups. Good, mutters the monk. Arrogant horseman. You salvage a wet rag from somewhere, stamping out the flames leaves behind a charred, queen-shaped hole. She's still smirking. The 7th century, Gukjak Mugi, text, recommends grinding warhorse hoof shavings into ink for unyielding morale. Your current sludge smells suspiciously of roadside dumplings. When was the last bathhouse visit? The monk's nose crinkles. He's backing away. Your left pinky traces a castle wall, the motion mirroring Empress Myeongseong's famed cherry blossom signature. Muscle memory betrays you. The structure curves into a heart. From this angle, it looks like surrender. Bamboo groans outside, nature's audience heckling. Dawn licks the inkstone dry. Strategy seeps into skin your forearm, a battlefield palimpsest. Tomorrow's wash basin will weep black tears. But tonight, you wear each blunder like armor. The monk's distant cough sounds suspiciously like checkmate. Charcoal blurs. Your final move dissolves before daybreak critiques it. Cold seeps through your sleeves, metal pieces biting sharper as constellations bloom across aged jade. The board stretches, your night trapped between Orion's belt, and a smudge you're pretending is Ursa Major. 17th century Korean star maps labeled this pattern the hanging general. But tonight, it feels more like a drunk octopus. Your fingernail taps the black tortoise constellation's northern gate, a move straight from Admiral Yi Sun-sin's naval formations. History books never mention he tested strategies through midnight chess. Bamboo creaks, time warps. Are those 1590s tides lapping your ankles? A pawn gleams, supernova bright, forcing your gaze downward. Joseon astronomers mapped 28 lunar mansions. Right here, their charts etched in court intrigue. Did they argue over checkmate patterns while calculating eclipse paths? You nudge the piece. It orbits diagonally, a rogue planet defying gravity. Ridiculous. The word melts into night air, probably aimed at yourself. That auction website claims empresses played with meteorite-carved sets. Your chipped ebony king smells, suspiciously, of hardware store varnish. Pine resin clings to your wrist. Every movement stretches glue threads into celestial webs. Remember those court ladies stitching secret messages into constellation patterns. Your canteen gurgles, last night's barley tea mocking such romanticism. The North Star winks, blink Morse you're too sleep-deprived to decode. Historians still argue whether the 1251 Goryeo rebellion began over a stolen chess piece or just bad kimchi. Your stomach growls solidarity with dissident guts across time. Campfire myths whisper of kings challenging gods across starboards, but you'd settle for beating that smug temple parrot. Dawn's first thread unravels your cosmic grid. Constellations retreat into bland tile. Wait, the pawns still glowing faintly. Splintered bamboo mirrors your fractured strategy. Stalks form a prison you designed move by move. Someone giggles in the mist. Is that last night's soju playing tricks, or the ghost of Gwanggido's court jester? Your elbow brushes stone, cool surface, humming with dead generals' debates. The 1819 Royal Archives mention obsidian boards that held moonlight captive, which explains why your breath fogs strangely blue here. Fingers cramp, too many hours recalling archers who trained via cricket chirp rhythms. A rook teeters, you catch it mid-fall, palm stinging. Victory smells like moss and poor decisions. 2 fireflies mimic captured queen's final orbits. Moths flock, dust from their wings settles on nights like premature snow. 3 rebellions started during meteor showers. Coincidence? The monk's shadow crosses the board, its edges perforated by dawn. You've been here all night. Again, a dragonfly alights on your king's crown, veined wings, vibrating forgotten war hymns. No encores, you mutter. It departs, dragging the stalemate skyward. Cranes echo their departure, feathertips brushing reset. You count 73 heartbeats before the board forgets your touch. Your thumbnail catches on a ridge, an imperfection in what should have been polished obsidian. Flicking away sleep crust, you peer closer. The board's edge reveals turtle shell cracks, forming Hanya characters. Dangun's forge, words from a 7th century military manual banned for advocating chess as war training. Rotten pear blossoms drift over the grid. 12 years studying Joseon-Era rules never prepared you for this. The way that cracked line winks like a saboteur's grin. Historians still argue whether the H-warring knights used game strategies during Shilla's unification wars. But your knuckles remember temple plaster from punching that grad school thesis draft. Warmth spreads through your palm, the cracked glyph humming like a struck bell. 17 scholars were reportedly executed in 1434 for reviving these corrupted openings. Their last meal, rice wine and mulberry leaves, according to that sketchy blogger you'll never admit to reading. Wind flips your blindfold. Sudden daylight exposes the forbidden pattern. Turtleshell fractures now mirror Admiral Yi's famed warship formations, a mainstream museum piece, recreated here in splintered resin. Your tongue tastes iron. Did ancient players bite through frustration or poisoned teacups? The opposing queen vibrates, its lotus flower crown stained with your yesterday's blood. Temptation whispers, shift your bishop across 2 forbidden intersections. Would the board burst into flames or just summon some bureaucrat's ghost to scold you? 1 finch lands, then 12, forming a feathered jury along the bamboo rail. Their heads tilt in unison, black eyes judging your hesitation. 3 heartbeats pass, you spit on tradition, and slide the piece sideways, silence. Then plumwood cracks. The bishop splits into carpenter beetles, their iridescent backs spelling Chinese letter with each crawling step. Regret, your professor's droning voice resurfaces. The 1432 prohibition wasn't about moves, but about pride. Dew soaks your knees, did the forest weep. The glyphs shift again, now showing Goryeo-era star maps, blended with Edo period fortifications. That YouTuber who swears samurai taught Korean generals gets one grudging nod from your throbbing temple. Your lungs seize scent of molten bronze and pine resin. Vision blurs, centuries compress. Are those 16th century straw sandals imprinting next to your sneakers? A voice rasps. Crack the shell or wear it as armor. Fingers tremor, you trace the band opening's path. Textbook drills demanded predictable diagonals, but these jagged lines feel like your divorce papers, slash marks, personal growth, via elder disobedience, sure. The beetles still march, forming bridge patterns the Joseon Navy used against Japan. Mainstream histories omit how admirals played chess blindfolded during typhoons. Your earlobe itches. Phantom, sting from long-debated corporal punishment for rule breakers. A cicada shell crumbles underfoot. You're no scholar king, just some fool chasing serenity via carved pawns. Teeth press the cracked edge. The taste, not sanctified oak, just Home Depot plywood with delusions of grandeur. Lightning splits the sky, thunder arrives 6 seconds late. The finches scatter. You mimic their wingspan, arms wide, awaiting condemnation. Instead, bamboo shadows stitch the fractures with liquid gold. Anticlimactic, you tell the beetles. They respond by spelling Kamungchungi Inus before dissolving into pollen. 73 heartbeats later, Queen's crown blooms with fresh blood. Yours, probably. Dawn licks the taboo lines, now glow-in-the-dark reminders of moral flexibility. The glyphs hum settles in your molars, new cavities for a new era. You pocket a beetle husk, its wing case perfect for scraping off tomorrow's compromises. Your palm absently rubs the beetlewing fossil in your pocket, its ridges matching the scar tissue from last week's splinter. The pieces lie reset, yet your fingers curl around air instead of jade. A hollow victory, like winning a staring contest against a Goryeo-era portrait. You used to mock museum plaques claiming courtiers played soul chess in bamboo groves. Turns out your kneecaps now agree about the metaphysical splinters. Breeze flips a pawn onto its side. It rolls toward unseen allies. Joseon census logs mention bamboo forests as tax collection sites, governors hiding coin boxes between the stalks. Your earlobe tingles, same spot where grand historiographer Kim's ghost allegedly whispered secret ledgers. Historians still argue whether these games tracked debt relief or just noblemen's gambling habits. Academic punches have been thrown over less. A finch drops a walnut shell onto the king's square. You recall that 18th century monks allegedly trained birds to steal opponents' pieces mid-game, though the only evidence is a satirical scroll showing a sparrow mooning a grandmaster. Your toes dig into mulch, old strategies underfoot. Scholar No Jeong's 1613 diary describes burying failed chess sets to return their ambition to the earth. You've got 5 IKEA knockoffs in a landfill cursing your name. The blindfold slips. You don't adjust it. Sunlight bleeds through fabric, imprinting the board onto your eyelids. 16th century manuals warned against non-shadow play, but your retinas now hold more diagrams than a subway map hallucination. That YouTube ad blaring ancient soul hypnosis tracks feels less ridiculous as gridlines pulse behind your brow. You lift the queen plastic, not celadon, and suddenly taste honeyed mugwort. Royal astrologers prescribed its smoke for clear-minded play, and also as a laxative. Priorities. The piece trembles, not your hand this time. 8 finches line the bamboo rail again, feathers puffed in disapproval. One tweets the opening notes of Gangnam Style. Nature mocks you. Wind surges. 1,000 stalks click like abacus beads. Joseon accountants did use bamboo tallies for math drills, until some genius thought pawns added more drama. Your nail traces the board's central crack, aligned with Mount Nam's summit seen from Hanyang's East Gate. Modern tourists toss coins there. You're just here dodging carpenter beetle karma. The first move comes not from you, but your opponent's forgotten water bottle. Condensation drips onto the rook square, warping plywood. Textbook scholars would forfeit over this humidity, but Park Jong's unsanctioned strategies, 1799, praised rain as the only honest referee. Of course, he died in a monsoon, so maybe skip the weather metaphors. You exhale 3 years' worth of held breath. That meditation guru was right. If emptiness means wanting to hurl chessboards into koi ponds, the queen's plastic crown snags on your thumbnail, same way Li H1's ceremonial robe tore during the 1592 declaration of war. Mainstream docs call it an omen. His tailor's memoir blames cheap thread. Dragonflies land on the board, wings vibrating Hanya radicals. You don't remember buying this many acid trips. One's thorax pulses with the forbidden double charging horse formation, illegalized after 1438's checkmate riots. Your grad school debt whispers, publish this as avant-garde performance art. Your survival instinct prefers not getting excommunicated before tenure. The beetle husk warms in your pocket, glowing like a reactor core, really selling that Home Depot plywood mystique. You slide it under the king, a recycled throne. Bamboo groans, or maybe your stomach. Historians still argue whether courtiers fasted during matches to purify strategy, or just forgot meals during epic losing streaks. Mid-afternoon, light bends through leaves, projecting a warped grid onto your chest. Feels like getting raided by a disgruntled ancestor. Your therapist's voice pipes up. Have you considered not romanticizing self-sabotage? Thanks. but you'll stick to wrestling Jesuit-made demon tiles from the 1600s. A finch swoops, snatching the bishop. Its brethren cheer with wing flaps. You let it go. The piece had gaudy gold paint anyway. 9 clouds drift overhead, mimicking the floating armada formation from Admiral Yi's tattered battle plans. Your thumbs twitch, muscle memory from 2 decades of air hockey shame. You rise, knees crackling like kindling, and bow to the empty stool across the board. Your shadow stretches into the grove, becoming the opponent you've always carried. Bamboo sways, its whisper the same pitch as your alarm clock's snooze tone. Victory tastes like expired kombucha, but you drain the bottle anyway. The abandoned game glows, each square humming with unspent what-ifs. You leave the queen upright in surrender or invitation. Forest air fills your lungs, a burial shroud for tomorrow's regrets. Somewhere, a sapling cracks pavement, already dreaming of checkmate. The board's hum dwindles to a sigh, wood-grain patterns blurring like rain-streaked calligraphy. Your breath sinks with rustling bamboo, a rhythm older than kings or coins or crumbling stone ledgers. Fingertips brush the beetle fossil, its glow cooled to autumn twig brown. Blindfold cotton scratches your cheek. You let it stay, a half surrender to whatever rules remain. Pawns cast thread-thin shadows, now just sticks, not soldiers. That phantom, honeyed taste fades, mugwort's ghost retreating to ancient recipe scrolls. Wind combs through bamboo, counting the grove in bankers' whispers. You no longer care what's tax record, or tally mark, or truth. Knees sink into mulch, a cushion for both conqueror and fool. The queen's plastic sheen softens in twilight, no longer mocking. Just a thing awaiting recycling. Dragonflies dip their wings in dew, erasing tactical formations from memory. 18 finches roost above, feathers smoothing the day's chaos into nest lining. Your pocket sits empty, beetle shell gifted to a passing ant column. They'll carry its weight better than you ever did. Sunset bleeds the board's grid from your eyelids. No more subway map ghosts, just tired eyes. A single stalk taps your shoulder, bamboo's version of good game. You nod back, less a bow than a wobble. The forest exhales, sap scent wrapping around your ribs like ceremonial ropes undone. Moonlight pools in the rooks, warped square, a liquid tomb for ambition. Historians can keep their debates. You've got blisters to nurse and kombucha to replace. You step off the engraved stone marking Hanyang's old boundary, 1 foot in then, 1 in now. Crickets sing the opening bars of Ararang, or maybe it's your tinnitus. Either way, you hum along. Night hugs the grove tighter than any theorem ever could. Your shadow dissolves into a tapestry of leaf shapes. No victories left to chase, no splinters left to pull. Dawn waits, but not here. Not yet. The path home smells of wet soil and diesel, ancestors, and exhaust pipes debating in your wake. Your phone buzzes, a calendar alert for tomorrow's lecture. You mute it, gifting yourself 7 more breaths of beetle-less air. Somewhere behind you, A bamboo shoot cracks its first inch toward the sun. You don't look back. Sleep comes not as surrender, but as a second blindfold. Gentler this time,